before we start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Let's start with, I don't know, Jasko.
Okay.
So who you are, what your role in the band is, and briefly what your music experiences are.
Okay. My name is Jasmin, Prnjavorac. Jasko is my nickname. Most people know me by that name. I sing in the band. I'm a main vocal. The band formed in 2015 on the initiative from my ex-drummer Ferko, my friend who was initially drummer in the XU band. And it all started in 2015, and we didn't know what to expect, but we kind of said, let's try, see what happens, and we realized that actually there is a potential, especially because a lot of Croatian people came in that period, in previous couple of years before that, started coming to Ireland, and then that kind of made the ground for maybe something like that to kind of to happen, you know, because previously it was there were trials, yeah, but not so successful because there was not so many people that they could come attempts, yeah, thank you. Yeah, since 2015 we started gigging, and it kind of worked well for us so far. It's apart from 2 years of pandemic where nothing was happening. And yeah.
So how long have you been singing?
I started singing when I was a kid, you know, at home, and kind of I was, you know, I always loved music. My passion was drawing and singing. Actually, I was good with drawing, and in the bands I started maybe when I was 15, 16. Kind of demo bands, obviously, like you know, like for playing in secondary schools and stuff.
Where
like,
was that?
That was in Sarajevo, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that was in the 80s, maybe mid 80s, yeah, approximately maybe 84, 85, roughly. You know.
In
then
Ireland?
any
In Ireland?
in Ireland, I came to Ireland in 1996.
You were sang in any
Bands.
Irish bands?
I didn't sing in Irish band, but there was a few members that were Irish in the beginning. Bass player and the drummer, they were Irish, but we played our tunes and original tunes as well. So there was mixture of original plus kind of tunes from kind of ex-Yugoslavia, Balkans, you know. And that kind of worked. We didn't have kind of very frequent gigs at the time, you know, maybe once or twice a year, you know, that was it. And there was a organization here who was kind of helping Bosnian people to settle. It's called Refugee Agency, you know, kind of, and they organized these parties, and we were like a band to play on these parties, you know. So that was going on for a couple of years, and then since it didn't kind of work in the long run, you know, we kind of stopped, you know. And then I was doing my music. I was, you know, not in the bands for a good number of years, and then XU band happened. And
so you've had a different career as well, which kind of relates to what you do as a singer, which is, you know, the video and audio.
The video,
just
well,
briefly tell us
yeah,
about that.
well, the music production first. It started when I came to Ireland. Actually, I was until that point I was mainly singer in the bands. I played keyboard and guitar, but obviously not professionally. You know, just kind of I could make songs and stuff like that. But then when I came to Ireland, I always wanted to get into the music production. You know, and I started kind of discovering the kind of computer music started kind of to be kind of just starting at that time, 1996, 97. I started kind of diving into that a little bit. I had, Yamaha V50 keyboard, you know, like with some sequencer in it. Has 16 tracks, and I started kind of mixing in there, you know, kind of first mixes, kind of. So that gave me a buzz, and I started going deeper and deeper, and eventually I kind of turned that into a business, and then video came along as well with the years of experience. And I used to work in the office as an architect technician, and there was a kind of lot of design involved in that, and drawings, CAD drawings, 3D drawings, 2D drawings, lots of kind of creative stuff, you know. So that kind of gave me some knowledge that I could use later for what I'm doing at the moment, you know. So it was kind of valuable, yeah.
Let's go with Siniša.
My next-
Tell us about yourself.
My name is Siniša Kasalović, and I joined the XU band as a keyboard player in 2015. Well, actually, it was from the start. Jasmin proposed to form such a band, and I just joined. I thought it was something I wanted to do anyway. Always had love and passion for the music. I started playing keyboard, I think I was 12 or 13. Back at home. I'm from Banja Luka. So for all those years that I was over there, I would be always involved with different people, kind of, as Jasmin said, demo bands, stuff like that. But we never played, even not even semi-professionally. Well, never mind professionally. When I came to Ireland, I came on a student exchange program, and there was about 20 or 30 guys, some from Banja Luka, some from Belgrade. We were on the project learning about people with disabilities. So from all these cohort of people, there was about 4 or 5 guys, including myself, who were able to play some sort of musical instrument. So we used to have intercultural nights with Irish people in different communities in Ireland playing. It would be mostly from Balkan region. We played few ethno songs. So that was actually my experience here, apart from the how get together in houses and little small parties. And then when Jasmin proposed to form an XU band, I joined after. Actually, I didn't join from the start. Jasmin proposed. He first asked me, but I kind of didn't have time because I was doing my accountancy degree at the time. So it was the bass player who talked me into joining the band. So I failed a few exams because of the few gigs.
Sorry.
No, but I suppose the band was based purely on passion and enthusiasm for music. Well, it was never the financial motivation from the start. It was to get together, to get out there and see what happens, kind of. We didn't have any financial plan or anything apart from let's just try and cover the costs of the rehearsals, and that was the main idea. But at the same time, when you have such an idea that's not purely financial or not financial in its kind of purest sense, then you don't get as much commitment from other people, because if you get out what you put in, put it that way. So because there's no financial motivation, it didn't matter whether we performed perfect or whether the next time we're gonna make money from it or not. So that's kind of, if there was more money, maybe we would be playing kind of, then this piece of passion, probably, and enthusiasm would go away, because then you couldn't play all the songs you wanted to play, because then you have the audience kind of dictating what you need to play, if you want to play in that sense, which would probably include folk music, which would include maybe I don't know, you name it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started, but gradually, like, the band evolved, and now we did see some financial benefit of it, but obviously it's kind of a part-time band. We're not full-time musicians, so there are limits to that.
Excellent. Well, I mean, this is basically kind of goes into the main thing right now, which is, the research that I'm doing, which is the research into the viability of expanding this band's commercial activities, not just in Dublin, but to entire Ireland. So generally, what are your impressions? Like, what do you actually think about it? So that's in simplest terms. What do you think about that idea?
Well, I have to start from the start. I am accountant by trade, so I don't make my living from band's activities. So from that point of view, I'm kind of happy even to stay as a part-time, of course, and I wouldn't expect much financial reward purely from a part-time band, which is covering our costs. It's even in doubt whether we actually cover our cost if you put your time, if you add up your time and multiply by certain rate that you are in making at work, then probably we are at loss. But obviously it's not money coming out of your pocket in that sense. But
we'll get to the specifics later.
Yes, but yes, part-time band. I think we kind of reached our limit, considering how much time and effort we put in. I think we get what we get.
Yeah.
We get what we get. We could be 200 people, could be 100 people, could be 50 people, could be 250 people, but it's within those parameters, and it won't go any further than that.
In your opinion, yeah.
In my opinion, yes. In my opinion, I'm just speaking for myself.
And you're kind of on a professional level as like someone who works in finance.
Well, a professional, I'm an accountant. I wouldn't consider myself to be a professional musician. If you brought me, if I were to join some sort of symphonic orchestra, I wouldn't probably be the black sheep there, and they would kick me out. But yes, but expansion, yes, we could maybe go from part-time to kind of semi-professional, where you put more effort and you kind of have, then your expectations go higher as well. In terms of, okay, I want to make now 300 or 400 quid a month, or 1,000 a month, or whatever it might be a month, but that means more investment in terms of time and probably money and probably putting additional resources. So I don't know if there is willingness. Obviously, there's 5 people in the band, and they all have their personal lives, including myself. So you have to. Can you actually fit all this? Can you balance everything else? Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, I think we had a great period from 2015 until 2020. Yeah.
March.
Yeah, March.
No, into March.
March 2020, and until that point, we kind of had pretty much regular gigs. Maybe a couple of, there was a couple of years where we had maybe even 10 to maybe 12 gigs a year, you know. But then there was a couple of years where we had maybe 6 or 7 a year, you know. So roughly it's kind of maybe average 7-8 gigs per year, you know.
That's just in Dublin.
That's just in Dublin, and a few times we went in Galway, and which was kind of nice as well.
Galway 3 times so far.
3 times so far, yeah. But kind of before the pandemic, twice we went, and it's just because there's people living all around Ireland, and there is a bit of nostalgia for this type of music, you know, and people would come to our gigs, but after the pandemic, we just have to see actually where we're going now, because at the moment it's kind of a little bit strange situation in general, you know, because obviously we're free to go to gigs and stuff like that. There's no restrictions and stuff like that. But I think that now we have to change something in our performance, in maybe what we play, in order to get going, you know, because so far we had maybe a range of maybe 70, 80, maybe 100 songs that we kind of were playing on and off. But I think we need more. You know, we need to have at least 100 songs, and that every second gig is different to the previous one. You know, and that will probably give some more interest to the people. and also because we are concentrating on the songs from say 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe we should start adding more current songs that are popular at the moment. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking loud here. But I...
So, in your opinion, it's kind of a... You're saying that there needs to be a certain level of commitment in order to, like, in relation to the research question here of the expanding our
But it's, I think,
actions. So we need to basically to step up. And
well,
there needs to be a certain level of,
it's all,
yeah, sure, I want to do that.
well, it's almost like constant work in progress, you know, because if we did like 2-3 last gigs with pretty much similar range of songs, and people, they love to come out and kind of mix and, you know, have a good time and stuff like that. But if we stagnating with our kind of list of songs, repertoire, or whatever you call it, then the people might start losing interest in the long run. Yeah, so because from that point of view, I think there should be constant upgrade all the time. Certain levels. Certain levels. Yeah.
Can I just add,
Yeah.
just for
Of
a
course,
second?
please,
Yes.
Yeah.
Even from any organization, any company, any kind of even a band or a team or company, if no company can afford to stand still, because if you stand still, you're going backwards. Actually, you're not even standing still; you're going backwards. Yeah, and the good example is, like, I always quote it, like Nokia. If you remember Nokia phones, 3210, 3310, they never invested money, and then Apple, iPhone, Samsung took over Nokia and never came back, even though they're now doing their phones probably of the very same quality of the iPhone or Samsung, but they never actually, and they were market leaders back in 2000, I think 2 or 3. I really had Nokia phone. You know, but because they didn't, they didn't do the proper investment, and
probably the market is changing as well, a little bit, you know.
Taste of the market as well.
Yeah, because depends on, like, our type of music that we play will probably listen people who are from 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, kind of maybe 90s, that generation, you know. So so basically there's also a lot of young generation here that maybe they're born in the 90s or 2000, and now they might not even know that music, or they don't want to know it because it's kind of past, you know. But
classics.
classics, yeah. But I think we can still have a you know, like a nice let's say semi-professional or wherever part-time music, you know, playing. It just needs some constant, I think, revisions that we have to do. Revisions and bit of market. I think we are lacking marketing lately. Last couple of gigs, definitely. You know, we were lacking marketing, and presence on social media is very important.
Yes, and we also like, because we live in Ireland, we so much depend on the people from Balkans, from Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, Macedonia, Montenegro, whatever, that come over here. And as Jasmin said, some of them are born after the 90s, after those songs were actually made. And they're into different type of music, but you also have competition from other people who are DJs, who do different stuff, and people get together.
We'll get to that later.
Okay, we'll come to that later.
So, just again about expanding the band's commercial activities to entire Ireland, that's kind of the main theme here. But just a quick question. So, do you, like Siniša mentioned, you know, Galway and playing several times, and so would you consider that this expansion, quote unquote, meaning outside Dublin, has that already begun? It's very simple. It's not a trick question.
No, I think it probably did begin a long time ago. Galway we kind of tested a few times. We wanted to go to Cork, to Kerry, to Waterford, to Kilkenny. You know, like there's plans to Athlone potentially, Drogheda maybe. You know, like, but we have to like obviously see is it viable. In the first place, to go to Drogheda, which is 50 kilometers from Dublin, or is it still better to stay in Dublin and expect people from Drogheda to come to the gig? You know, so basically, it's it's kind of something that we have to make decision, obviously, on the go. But it doesn't mean necessarily that it will work or not in a particular town, you know. So we just have to test the ground and see. Be prepared for the worst, as Siniša says, but expect the best. So.
So, and the issue going to other places in the past was to do with resourcing. Say, we need an amplifier, we need PA system, and it's very difficult to arrange that online or phone, because you're relying on somebody else, and they may not be there when you arrive. So that would be it would be embarrassing, as well as would create very bad reputation for the
It is much easier to organize gigs in Dublin, where most of us live, you know, kind of.
But in general, in general, it's very difficult to find a place anywhere in Ireland to play. Maybe there's not as much interest from the pubs and the local clubs, because they are not maybe as used to foreign communities having parties like that.
Yeah, it's kind of, to be honest,
because it's commercial for them.
Almost like exotic.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yes.
It is commercial from them, and they will obviously, when pubs are open, they expect local people to come in and spend as much money as possible. They may bring this theory into question when there is some foreign band. My 50 people might come up, and we usually have 300 every night. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just.
And that's understandable. That's understandable.
I'm going into very specific things here. I'll get back to you on one question, just generally from a social perspective, but just from a business perspective. You know, I'll ask you both. Like, say, getting more frequent gigs, either in Dublin or outside of Dublin. Say 1 to 2 per week, maybe. Although I think that 2 per week would be a bit too much.
Yeah.
Realistically, but I'm not going to say anything. What are your thoughts on that from just purely business perspective, getting more gigs?
Well,
either or.
It's kind of something that all of us in the band will love to happen, you know, that we play more frequently and regularly. But as a band, it's like if you have a DJ and a band, it's a different story. DJ press the button and there's a song. Band, we have to rehearse, we have to change, you have to put time in you know, an effort. Yeah, of course. And we always want these songs to sound as close as possible to the original or a live version or wherever we pick to be the kind of theme. So there is, it's not easy for us to do that as often as possible, as for example maybe a one-man band can do, you know, kind of.
I mean,
so that
ties into the rehearsals and cost of rehearsals.
Cost of rehearsals, traveling, everything, you know, kind of it adds up, you know. Which is, I mean, we are all willing to pay that cost because we love music, you know. But just it needs to have a little bit of satisfaction at the end of the night, where we say, okay, we didn't play for nothing, or okay, we got a couple of quid to, you know, for this or that, you know. So it needs to have some reward, you know. So for everyone in the band, I think.
But we'll touch on mechanics as well.
Yeah.
Of the gigs, organization, and everything.
But is it viable? I it's hard to say, because there's lots of people in all around Ireland, from Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, Slovenia, you know. But are they willing to kind of come to the gigs? What type of music they listen to usually at home? That's a question, you know, because many people listen maybe folk music, which we don't usually play. We play a few songs here and there, but maybe if there is a bit of more traditional music into our music, that will probably bring more people in. But at the same time, you're mixing apples and something else, oranges, you know, kind of it's you know, so it's tricky. It's tricky, you know,
So you
because
would
our
have-
music is pop rock in general,
yeah.
you know, pop rock with flavors of obviously folk, you know, but there's probably a bit more interest in folk in general, in at least in the community that we are from.
In terms of frequency, maybe like I
in
don't
ter-
know, like if you play in Dublin one day and then in some other town or city the other day, would that change? Would the set list change much? In that
Well,
sense?
for example,
but again, yeah, it's not so much from an artistic perspective; it's more like from the business perspective.
yeah.
So far in this particular question,
Well, if
I mean, I'll ask Siniša as well.
like
We'll once finish.
like last 3 gigs that we had planned were actually a good example of that, because we had Dublin, Cork, and Galway planned, and we planned to do that with the same songs. Basically, we didn't want to change anything because people who are in Galway, they wouldn't maybe
Wouldn't
come
necessarily- we don't
to.
have groupies who
Well,
come
there
in.
are people who do come
Yeah.
from Galway, from Belfast, wherever, but it's a small amount of people. So basically, we can count on that we don't have to have a fresh list every time we play. But if we're playing in Dublin again in a couple of months, we definitely need
Then change would
a lot of
would
change.
be necessary.
you know, that's my opinion. I mean,
So-
so I think, well, the question was, is it?
I mean, what
Is
are
it
your thoughts
viable?
from a business
From
business
business perspective? You know, this is kind of a relatively close question. From what are your thoughts on expanding, but generally from a business perspective, that frequency of the amount of gigs, say 1 to 2 per week, like realistically 1 per week, every week for a certain amount of time. What do you think, Siniša? Or sorry.
I realistically think that the maybe once a week wouldn't be.
Again, it's not a trick question. So
Yeah, yeah,
just
no,
say what it
no,
is.
it won't be viable probably for us because it's too frequent, and there's not so much people in Ireland that can come every week, and different people that can come every
They're
week.
willing
Willing
to come.
to
There's-
come, or,
there's
you know.
loads of them.
Yeah, there's loads of them.
Obviously,
People are
Not
working.
everyone likes live performance. Some
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
DJs and whatnot.
Yeah, so you need to have a gaps basically, and that's why we can't go professional, obviously, because we need to make these gaps, either we want it or not. Another point is Siniša said it's hard to find a place to play because we're looking Saturdays usually, and Saturdays are booked everywhere, you know. So
There needs to be some.
it needs to be.
Consequently, there needs to be some you know
We need
planning
to
ahead. and
planning
everything.
ahead
So,
maybe.
So yeah,
you
general
know.
stepping up as Siniša said, general
Yeah.
stepping up
Yeah.
should be
Yeah,
in order.
yeah, general stepping up. Yeah.
So what are your
So-
thoughts from a business
From a-
business perspective
well,
on frequency of the
Okay,
gigs?
well,
Mm.
Which kind of ties into expanding something,
yes.
you know, operations
Okay.
Yes.
to
Well,
other towns.
the,
and
the
cities.
band is still operates more on enthusiastic and passionate grounds than on let's go out and make money,
Mm.
and that's for the moment. And in line with that, we plan for the future, which is okay. Will we do it next month? Will we do it in 2 months? But it didn't matter if we didn't do it at all. You know, it wouldn't change
So
your
it's
life.
An
It
amateur
wouldn't change.
perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
saying, I'm
Fro-
not saying that
yeah.
from a bad
Yeah.
point of view, but just it is a general,
Yes.
an amateur perspective.
Yes,
on
amateur
things,
perspective, yeah.
Well, based on the reality that we're living in,
Yeah.
based on reality, like if, for example, if we are not living in Ireland and living maybe in Croatia or Bosnia or Serbia, we will probably most likely have more regular gigs, maybe even once a week, you know, because there are different places, different music playing in different bars, and
Yeah.
and it's all in your language basically. Where here the community is still relatively small to be able to have that frequency. You know, it'll be great, but I'm just looking at it realistically. It's not viable yet.
Or to be willing to kind of invest their time.
Yeah.
Well,
And no matter what you do, actually, even if you change a list of songs from completely, maybe add even different type of music or whatever, it's still going to be, these limitations are going to be there.
Of course.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. I think from business perspective, I don't think it could ever be completely fully viable that we can play here and leave your current job and purely live based on the funds you receive from the band. But what could be done is actually further explore idea, what do people want? Like Jasmin said, if you play in Bosnia, in Serbia, and Croatia, when you're there, you have a market. Okay, I'm playing pop music, I'm playing rock music, I'm playing folk music. But here, I don't think the divisions are as such, because when people come abroad, some of them, those that are willing to keep the links with their former country, they're happy to hear the language on the streets. They're happy to come and just, regardless whether it's folk or rock, they just want to be there. I think from a business perspective, what we lack is entertainment piece. When they come out, what we actually do at the moment, we have the song, we have the list of songs, we play songs, and that's it. They're lacking this entertainment piece. Let's blow them away, kind of, rather than just let's play the way Bilo Dugme plays or whoever.
Yeah.
Let's blow them away. Let's do improvisation. Let's do funny things. Let's keep their attention.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we failed in that way a little bit. We haven't offered them anything like that, and we kind of kept constantly playing, say 50, 60, maybe 70 songs, of which, even of those 70s, there may be 70 songs, but 20 probably we played 2 years ago, 10 of them, and for the last 3 gigs we probably played 55 songs, 50, 55, and this goes from period to period. If we were to play, say, once a week, then you'd have to have a different setup. Then you'd go to the likes of Fibres or somewhere, or a bar. Okay, we want now to hire this place for the next 30 weeks. And because we're gonna hire, we're not gonna pay you 200 quid, can you give us for 150 or 100 quid or But that's a huge financial commitment, because you're committing to something and people mightn't come. So it needs to be, for the business to work, kind of, because we are the only band playing in Ireland, that music from the Balkans, you'd have to kind of become a local kind of little star among people from community for them to come in great numbers, 300-400 people. So you'd have to become a local star.
It's not just a business, you know. Like obviously I'm asking these questions, but you can't separate business, and you can't just look at it from a business point of view. You have to look at it from almost like a social aspect. That's kind of a next, kind of ties into, I will digress from financial perspective, I will back to that on specifics, but it ties into the next question, which is, you know, what are your thoughts about the you know, obviously viability of expanding the band, band's operations to outside from a social perspective? And you know, I did mention that it's the question for Jasmin, but I would also like to get your thoughts as well. So from a social perspective, as you are a band founder, you know, so what do you think? You know, I think he's kind of put in a few ideas there.
From social perspective, it's actually
people like to see you. I mean, I'm gonna say for the camera that one of the parts of why people are coming in are actually because of you, because of your charisma. Everything else, but you are like, if we brought in someone who's relatively unknown in the community and in general XU community, not just a particular state, but just general XU community, you seem to be good with everybody. So that's why I'm asking social perspective, what people want, and
Lovable.
see you and all that.
It's
They're gonna
lovely.
see me,
Right.
you know.
Well, they come to see
You know,
all
there's
of
gonna be
us.
a couple of
but yeah.
drummers to see me, but one drummer, but that's it. So, like, what are your thoughts? Obviously, there are people outside Dublin that know you or know us or whoever, but
Well, well, from my
is there
personal,
something for them too outside Dublin?
well, my personality is actually, I'm very social person in general. I like people. I like, kind of.
So you're like a band's ambassador as well, from
Well,
that perspective,
yeah,
almost.
Almost, yeah, probably you can put it that way. But even though we all make decisions together, kind of, I maybe do have maybe a little bit of leading word somewhere. But from social perspective, I think social media was very, how to say, valuable to us from beginning because all our gigs and events that wherever we plan, we post on Facebook, on Instagram, and then we have a following of, I don't know, maybe 800 people, something like that on Facebook, and maybe similar to Instagram.
That's the only channel to.
That's the only channel where we can really kind of advertise, and that really worked well until pandemics. I have to say this, it's partially my fault because since last year I'm not using social media as much, and I think it does affect a lot the overall.
That's the only communication channel.
That's the only communication channel which I kind of.
That's where the advertising is going. Is going kind of social media.
That's where everything happens.
Website or anything like that. Everyone just uses social media.
Yeah, exactly. Such as Facebook, such as Instagram, and
we don't really need Twitter because we don't talk. We play music.
No, of course, yeah. So yeah, from that point of view, I think we have to go back to social media.
Put your likes.
It was way to use social media to our advantage.
Yeah.
I presume that's what you want to say.
Yes.
YouTube as well.
YouTube as well.
Some videos here that we are
well, YouTube, to be honest, we abandoned YouTube from beginning because of Facebook, because of Instagram, because you could post videos on Facebook and they get obviously more interaction immediately because they're kind of native to the Facebook, But when you post something from YouTube to Facebook, you may get some reactions, you may not, So that was one of the reasons we didn't go into YouTube maybe too much. But YouTube is great platform to actually to build a network as well.
Of course.
Because people comment on videos, people, kind of.
Well, I can just say that with YouTube you have a catalog that is always there, so it doesn't get replaced.
And it's specific,
On Facebook, on the other hand, and Instagram,
it's a mishmash.
You get post, and then another post gets replaced with another post.
Yes.
Whatever video you have, you're gonna have to.
You have to find it. You find it in the history.
In YouTube, if someone wants to see us, the video of us, they will go and
find
they
us.
can see it straight away on the listing. These are
So
basically differences.
So that is definitely something we have to work on, kind of populate YouTube.
It is a difficult and ungrateful task with the position we are in. Say if you wanted tomorrow to hire a specialist, Facebook specialist that will target the audience, it's very difficult for you even to specify to them, because he'll ask you, is it Dublin, is it Cork, is it where? But if he targets Dublin, he'll target 99% of native Irish population who probably won't even look at us. So it's very difficult to put your message out there to people, and how do you direct it? It's very difficult. Very difficult.
But another great thing on Facebook is the Facebook groups. And in these Facebook groups, like they're kind of, there are groups for Croatian people, for Serbian people, for not so much for Bosnian, but but people talk in these groups about everything and anything,
There's some kind of interaction.
There's some kind of interaction, and then we post in these groups, and then these posts get more exposure, obviously.
I must be honest, I was very actually surprised that we didn't get. I honestly thought genuinely thought that we would get more feedback from those groups.
Mhm.
And I was actually thinking, like, how come the group has 5,000 members and you get like feedback 30, 40, 50 people, even 100
Yeah.
people? I expected 500 plus,
Mm.
because people were kind of, they wanted to hear their own music or whatever. But then I realized, for example, some Serbian and Bosnian groups, these people need visas to come to Ireland. And majority of posts are in the group, how do I get this? Where do I go for this?
Yeah, yeah.
Where do I
Yeah,
get?
yeah.
And it's purely for their own interest to get information. With Croatian people, okay, they come, but then they're in a different boat because they usually younger population who probably didn't even know,
Yes.
they don't even know these songs.
Yeah.
And some people just actually, I can't say run away from home because they don't want anything local anymore. So no matter, like, as soon as they get what they want, they leave the groups.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, what do they say? You can bring horse to the water, but you can't make him drink.
Good point. Maybe the water is filthy.
The questionnaire that I have, moving on, the questionnaire that I have gives some general indications of what habits, what wants may be, but it's also indicative of the amount of people generally that responded is not that high, considering that I put in, the actual questionnaire and the reminder yesterday as well. If they didn't to fill out the questionnaire, some of those groups have several thousand members, and yet there was 5-6 groups. So there's, with the likes of XU Band, the likes that XU Band has, I think 900 something, so it's not over 1,000. But when you look at the overall, I won't say reach, but the amount of people in those groups is just about over 18,000 people.
Mm.
But the response to my questionnaire is about 50, which is okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it also gives you a general idea on the amount of people that come to our gigs
Yeah.
on average.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's in those numbers.
I would say there is another point in there that loads of people from our kind of region, they don't like surveys.
you just yes, no.
Yeah, it's
You
not.
don't have to write anything because
Yeah,
that's paid.
I think he's right. It's not cultural thing for us to be feeling people
No.
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
these
you know,
things,
that-
forms
that-
and
that-
That's why it's short, very short,
Yeah.
and very
Yes,
very
yes,
yes,
yeah.
no, and
Mm.
whatever.
But 50 is good number. I mean,
No.
so far.
This, and I'll share that with you.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time now, before we go to very specific things that we do in relation to the gigs and money and cost and whatever. What, if any, are the band's competitors?
Mm-hmm.
Can be anything. Normally you would think, oh, it's another band or another 2 or 3 bands, whatever. But I kind of know what our competitors are. But overall, or at least I think they are. But what do you think?
Well, I think personally that
Both
we,
of you.
we don't have a direct competitor because there is no another band that's doing exactly what we're doing. But we have competitors that are like there's a Balkan parties like that are DJ type of music, and so in that sense we might lose maybe a couple of people if the thing is happening on the same night, like it happened in last February. But we were fully crowded and they were fully crowded, and that didn't kind of matter in February, at least. But it might matter maybe in the future because there was nothing happening for 2 years, and then people wanted to come out and they want to, I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to see everything, kind of. There was element of that, and that's probably what happened in February. But in the future, if that happens again, will probably be some people will go to the Balkan party instead of to come to our gig, or vice versa, So, obviously, there is a bit of competition, but not direct in such a way that we kind of have, that's another band.
But it will still have a certain effect.
It will still have a certain effect, definitely,
Depending on
definitely,
what
yeah,
it would.
yeah. Well, our friends who like us, they also might like music that they play over there, if you know what I mean. So maybe they will decide to go one night there instead of coming to our place, and that's okay, you know. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think yes, I agree with Jasko in terms of competitors, that Balkan parties and all, like they're diluting this XU community for the people that wanted to come out that weekend. For example, last week or 2 weeks ago when we played the Teachers, there was a Balkan party on Sunday, we played on Friday, and there's another party on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday.
There was 3 gigs.
So actually, if there was a single party, you probably get maybe 150 or 200 people. But because it's 3 ways, you could have 60 each, or somewhere 102 times 50, or
and it's only like if say there is a group of 10 people and maybe few of them want to go to one of these parties. 10 people will go with them, you know, because you lose groups. 10 that way, you know, because maybe 2 or said, I want to go tonight for this, I don't want to see XU band.
But then there is also another thing.
So it does have an effect.
Yeah, since the pandemic, many people work from home. Some of them probably not even present in Ireland that like our groups. And another thing is, I mean, even we can say, I know it sounds crazy, is Ryanair our competitor because it flies 3-4 times to Zagreb directly. Some people may probably go for a weekend to listen to the music and come back and see their families and come back. But there's certainly effect of everything. But I still think we can do better and make it more appealing for people to come. Because at this stage it's even hard after 5 or 6 or 7 years. It's difficult to predict how many people are going to turn up. It's not steady. Like it's even if it's 50 every time you say it's 50. So if it's 60, you're happy. Sometimes it could be 250, but then you could go down to 30 people, which it's difficult.
Last
what you're saying, you can't really affect.
I think
sometimes we can't influence.
You can't influence
those things.
Crowds,
What we can do is, you know,
we can better ourselves.
We can exactly.
Yeah. And another thing is, I think we could target better times of the year where we could have gigs. For example, at Easter time, kids are off school for 2 weeks. Many people go home. They save money. They go home. While they're at home, they probably go 5 times a week to the gigs, and then they come back.
And even when they come back, they have no money. They're broke. You know, they won't
no
come
money,
for
and the last thing they want. But they probably heard the same over there, same type of music and everything. When they come here, I'm not going to XU band. I was there last week. I was 3 times. I'm sick of this for the next month. And those kind of things. And then there are also, I think we spoke the other day, about religious kind of Ramadan and Easter and Christmas, whatever, maybe around those periods people tend to go home or simply not,
or stay home.
Abstaining from many things.
Like
and
during the Ramadan, Muslim people don't drink,
they don't
so
drink,
they don't want to go out, you know. So there was probably
and as he said, like if there's 3 crowds, nobody comes in a solo version to well, sometimes people do come, but usually it's crowds 5 to 10.
5, 6, 10.
So even 3 or 4 groups like that is 50 people.
There's always, like with all that, there is that social aspect that, you know, generally.
Social aspect is very important in what we do.
You know,
very important.
It's interspersed with you know, interlaced almost with what we do from a financial perspective, business perspective. So there's always social factors that influence that.
Yeah, definitely. Big time.
Maybe we could better ourselves, actually have more songs and see can we add something unique to the band. That, okay, look at these guys are doing well today. Oh my God, I couldn't think that they changed this song in such a way that it was really nice. So something like that. But that means putting more time and effort into practice. So that's.
And I also think that we, even though we are 7 years playing covers, you know, I think we should do a little bit of original material as well, which doesn't have to be like something that will kind of top the charts, but you know, it's actually giving the band opportunity to show something else, you know, to show a creative side of maybe of the band members. And I think my personal view, well, since maybe I kind of beginning of the band, I kind of thought that we should maybe have occasionally original song.
I think that point. I think that almost kind of it ties into one of the questions that I will be asking. So we'll put that aside for a second.
Okay.
This is for Siniša specifically. So
Okay.
so what are your thoughts on this subject, right? Of again expanding the band's operations outside Dublin throughout Ireland. So from a financial perspective, meaning I did just put a couple of pointers, say more gigs, more money versus expenses and gig frequency and all that stuff. That's kind of your expertise is more on the financial side, business side, but financial side, like very numbers, so very.
Yeah.
It's not cold, but it's very to the point.
Yeah. Well, by default, by rules, the more gigs should translate into more financial rewards to band members. I know the question specifically relates to finances, so I won't speak about the social and our own personal satisfaction.
Yeah,
so because it's only
marketing,
so we can easily calculate how much it costs us to hold an event or to have a gig, whether it's Dublin. Obviously, Dublin is probably cheaper than going to Galway or Cork. At the end of the day, we always come back to the same thing. What's the audience there and how many people will come? Because we can easily, you set tickets at 10 or 15 euros and you multiply by number of people and that's your income basically. And but there's also, I earlier mentioned, opportunity costs. For example, 5 of us, if we are to go next Saturday, say to Kerry, if Jasmin, for example, he's doing the video, if he has a wedding that he's gonna make 200 euros, is he going to go to Kerry or is he going to say, lads, I can't do it because I have a wedding in Lucan in Finstown Castle and I'm gonna make 200 euros there? In that sense, the band is not financially viable because he would have to make 300 at least or 400 in Kerry after his costs to say, well, I don't want to do the wedding, I'll cancel that guy. With my camera, I'm going to sing. And this is the biggest obstacle for the band. If something else comes on with 100 euros opportunity to make or 200 euros, you probably cancel the gig. Not cancel the gig, you'll say I'm not available. Because at the end of the day, on one side you have financial benefit, on the other side you have pure satisfaction, enthusiasm, passion, and you'll say, well, I can have my passion next week in a house over there. At this time I have opportunity to make 100 euros, and I don't think the band is at that stage that you can with certainty say, well, we're going to Kerry, I know I'm going to be up to 300 euros. We are not at that level yet. I'm looking that way. I work 9 to 5, so I'm available Saturdays, so I'm available for those gigs. But for people that work shifts, like we had Ranko previously in Boyan in the bands, and they were working on certain days, and you would never even contemplate asking them, well, cancel your shift because we are playing, or come to the rehearsal and cancel your shift at work. In that sense, it's not financially viable.
So this is like very we're going to get to the specifics, like the breakdown of let's get like 2 gigs, one that was successful. Doesn't have to be February.
It has to be February.
And the one that
still enjoying that money.
And the one that wasn't that well.
Teachers last time.
We can even talk about the Galway gig.
Thank you, Dave.
Which is a good, the most recent gig in Galway, which was kind of, I suppose, breaking even or just a little bit out there. So what are the specific, literally breakdown of things, if you remember, for both of those gigs? How many people were there?
I think in February that was kind of most successful gigs in financial sense, I think we sold 236 tickets or 235 tickets.
something
So
like that,
with
yeah.
some people probably walking in after midnight, and some people came with the band. You could say that about
There was
250.
250, I think,
250.
on the night. Yeah.
Last time in teachers, I think that's the lowest 31. Was it 31?
Yeah.
31.
And Galway was the same.
Galway's
31,
the same. Yeah, 30.
It's €10 per head.
Per head.
Yeah, Galway was 15. per
Galway was
head.
15,
This is
and
10.
that probably what
And
what helped us
yeah.
a bit more.
So that was Fibers and teachers are kind of the high points and the low points.
Yeah. In 2 months' time.
Yes, but now
Yeah.
I believe it's all like on the markets. Like when you go out to the green market to buy, what do you offer, and there is supply and demand always. What you supply and what they want to hear. So I think it's hitting that point, hitting that spot or whatever from the audience
Yeah.
that will drag them on. Oh, XU band is playing 2 weeks time. We have to go to see them, and we haven't kind of. My impression is that it's not out there yet.
So, you mentioned 20 again specifics. So 250 tickets sold per €10 per ticket.
Yes.
How much was the venue?
The venue was €200 for the hire of the premises
and the sound.
and
and the
sound
sound
guy,
engineer and sound equipment.
And their equipment as well.
So that's the only cost plus cost for the guys selling tickets, about 50 quid,
Okay.
and the rest is kind of back to the band.
Okay. Perfect. And pretty much it was similar or the same in Galway.
It's pretty much the same in
Except,
Galway,
obviously,
except
the
it was
ticket
€15 ticket, but we got much less people, and
we
we
had
barely,
extra
barely covered
costs.
the costs.
We had
basically.
extra cost for
Yeah.
petrol and if
Yeah,
somebody
there
was
was
staying
extra
overnight.
cost involved. That's why we.
So roughly, how much did you spend on petrol or diesel or whatever?
Well, Galway is from Dublin Luft with 200 kilometers, so that's 400 kilometers driving. I don't know, my car is probably using 6 liters, so 4 by 6, 25, say 25 liters, that's roughly €2, about 40, 50 euro.
€40 maybe a petrol.
With toll bridge is 50, I'd say.
With toll bridge 50,
50.
definitely, yeah. And then eating, drinking there, yeah. So
Cost of accommodation
If you're
decide to
staying,
stay,
yeah.
like
if
when we did the loft.
So we kind of.
when we did
yeah.
the loft, we stayed,
Yeah.
and
So this time we were kind of at a loss. I think we got 35 or 40 quid each.
Overall,
Yeah, overall
Galway.
we were-
could be-
yeah.
So 10 or 20. No, it's small loss. It's not.
yeah.
It won't break the bank or anything like that. But
So one impromptu question: do you think we charge a lot? And there's a reason why I'm asking. Do in terms of ticket cost? What are your thoughts on that?
well,
So I'll mention something from the questionnaire.
that's to
once.
do with price sensitivity. And there's many economists will argue with you. There's a price sensitivity for any commodity, for any goods in the. So if you put the price of coffee up, is the sale coming down? And it's very difficult to find that balance. So you could put it to €20, but okay, everybody is happier to pay 10 than 20, including myself, which is normal. Are you happy to have 100 people at €10 or maybe 200 people at €5? For atmosphere-wise, it's always better to have 200 people, but then at the same time, could they be saying, they must be playing crap if they are undervaluing their service, and then all of a sudden they're selling for 5, or there was a guy that was selling for €1 tickets, which is which is a laugh.
Well, that's kind of something that I personally I think we're playing very cheap. That's my personal opinion. Taking in consideration all these years that we're playing €10 in 2015. Ticket cost. Ticket cost. Yeah, it's €10 in 2015. It's €10 in 2022. So I think there should be some raise eventually.
Yeah. Well,
but people are people willing to pay that maybe extra €5 or €2 or whatever it is extra on top of 10. That's another question.
I'll check something, but
Yeah.
keep talking.
No, but so that's kind of. But I do have a feeling that when I started playing again after pandemics, like there was one gig in November, and we would do that one for free because we wanted to play. We didn't care about any money then. But then when February gig came and there was no restrictions, my personal opinion was, if we put 15 euro there ticket then and kept it until now, I think that will be some standard for another maybe 5 years, if you know what I mean. But we wanted to kind of maybe get some tickets selling online, and there was extra 2 euro cost on that, so ticket came out as a 12 euro. Some people didn't like that. I don't think it's a major fault, but it can affect some people. It can affect some people.
It's difficult to find a benchmark because we are the only band here. There's no 3 XU communities and somebody. But if you really want to get into financials, we can say, okay, the average wage in Ireland is about 20 euros an hour. So if there's 5 of us, say 20 euros an hour, that's 100. So that's 100 euros per hour for the band. So we play 4 or 5 hours, 4 hours. That's 400 euros. Then the rehearsal 5 hours. That's another 5 hours at least. That's 9. So you're talking about the cost for our gig is about 900 euros of the time that you put in for the taking some sort of average wage, not minimum wage. Plus Fiber is 200 euros and 300 euros with the guy selling the tickets and maybe an amplifier or whatever or some other cost. So you're talking roughly about 1,200 euros is our time. That includes only one kind of rehearsal before the gig. If you take 20 euros an hour, which is, you agreed, it's kind of works out about 40, 50 grand a year, which is kind of an average in this country. So 1,200, you'd expect 120 people at 10 euros at least, or I don't know.
Or if they want to pay more.
Or they pay more.
I will share the questionnaire, what we had so far, not straight away. I mean, there's 10 questions overall, but one interesting thing is if you look at the percentages, how much does people who actually, whoever did the questionnaire, how much do you pay for the events, either live events or DJ, Balkan parties, so it's XU primarily. So paying 10 euro more, 69.57%. 15 or more, 21%, 21.74%. So we can say 22%. 20 or more, 8%, almost 9% of people actually pay 20 euro or more. So I think we'll look at this as the overall
Yes,
strategy.
but you have to be careful about that because of the specific question. Like for XU party, it could be a Crvena Jabuka coming. Of course, I'll pay 30 euros, but I will not pay to a DJ more than, I wouldn't pay more than 10 for a DJ. But personally, I'd never go, I might pay 10 and that would be the top if I was going to DJ. But if Bijelo Dugme or Bregovic came or Zdravko Čolta, I pay 50. I don't have any issue with that.
It's all relative.
It's
relative, and sample is small.
In this sense, sample is very small, so it is indicative, but not,
But I
it
think
can give you some indications.
if the band is playing and you want to look at it more financially, then we should say, okay, financial target for each gig is 1,200. Whether we get it for 15 euros, 20 euros, 30 euros, or 5 euros, doesn't matter. We want 1,200 from this gig.
That would be a good business model, which we never had.
So it's kind of,
in a nutshell.
Let's go for.
We're kind of getting to that. I will actually ask for some specifics in terms of getting the gigs and all that stuff. I won't keep you too long. But recently, before I go into the what's going to happen in the future and what the difficulties may be, although you touched upon them, what are your thoughts on? And I'll ask you for specific examples. So what are your thoughts on bands self-managing approach? So gig bookings and all that stuff versus potentially involving the booking or management agency. I used to play in a band who was run by a management agency and you get paid once a month on the 10th of the month.
Right.
But you know, what are your thoughts on that? And I want to ask you specific in terms of your Waterford
that was something.
journey and you calling Jilly and all these folks, and you know.
Well, that was something I wanted to mention actually. That maybe the management at the moment is our weakest point.
Yeah.
The management at the moment.
You agree?
Yeah.
Do you think there's too many people involved in that?
No,
or we need
it's
someone
just
who's dedicated.
Well,
So you need specific set of skills for that.
Well, probably a specific set of skills for maybe online marketing, but in general, like we kind of we were doing loads of most of the kind of advertising, and a couple of friends were helping us, and because of everything was happening in these Facebook groups, it was kind of okay, you know. But if you want to attract people who are maybe not so much on Facebook and who are probably who would like to come to the gigs like that we do, maybe we have to find some different avenues how to reach them, if you know what I mean. And we are not experts in marketing, you know. We only do as much as we can do, but you know, I'm not sure it's viable to have a manager as well that will manage our gigs, you know, based on what we kind of make at the moment from the gig.
It's always better to speak in a third person. When you advertise your own videos, some people come across to them as they're bragging, they're boasting, they're self-praising, you know, that kind of way. Yeah. I'll give you a little story, a personal story. I had a car accident in 2017 where I was going to court and I was basically facing conviction. So I went to the barristers and solicitors, and they said, okay, your best bet is to plead guilty, and based on your immaculate record up to then, you'll probably escape the fine, etc. But then I said to them, well, I can do that myself. I don't need you. I don't need you to go to court and say to judge, look, I'm here 20 years, I've never been convicted for anything and no bad record. And the barrister said to me, well, it's not the same. If you come to the judge and you speak, I'm this, I'm that, and I haven't done this, and it's different to when he says, Mr. Kasalović is immaculate record, he works here, he has a daughter, it's completely different. So, back to the band perspective, it's different when the booking agency, XU band is back in the city, rather than so we are back in the city. It's completely different message. It's sent to the audience.
That's why we have Evelina. XU band is back in the city.
No, you kind of need somebody professional.
Consider her.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You need somebody professional. Yeah. Well, always go back, good-looking girl or whatever. It's special. Like the agencies are there for a reason, and I think the job is best to be let professionals do their job rather than.
So, do you think? Okay, you mentioned Evelina, who's, you know, just for the record, that's the person that was doing some
advertising
for us, some advertising, something. What was her role, and you know what happened there? If you don't mind me asking.
No, she was like just our friends, but she wanted to help. And when we were struggling with finding a place to play, you know, she said
offered help,
she offered help. She says, "I can do that for you." And then she sent email to people and
she was pushing us to do, and maybe we were too static for her.
Yeah, because for myself personally, marketing is not something that I will do. You know, kind of. It's obviously I did a lot of it because of my business and because of the band, but that's not my thing to do. I mean, I'm not qualified. Not my cup of tea, yeah. So obviously there are people who can do that better and with more passion than me. And
the problem is to find such a person, to be honest, because local person speaks English, and English is not our communication channel.
No.
So you can't hire even the best person in Ireland, the most expensive person, still not achieve the goal. So it's kind of looking for a very kind of local people, well, not local person from the region, that can speak in the native language and say, okay, another XU party, these guys are here now. It's like a circus, kind of. They're here now, God knows when you're going to see them again. You want to create that impression, and we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like through my work, I could see a lot of marketing, but I could see from the financial point of view, but the marketing
It's
techniques
not
are
as
out
easy
there.
to apply
Do you
to
think
our,
there is a market? I think
There is a
the
market.
Crucial question here. Do you think there's a market for XU band generally?
I think there is a market, and all these years that we are doing it to show that there is some market. Obviously, it's not market that maybe we would like to have, but it's a market, So definitely, it's something that probably will thrive. But
And in context of this question in general,
but as I mentioned, we need to do constant upgrades.
Yeah.
We need to put up a different show if we can every time. Well, like I was mentioning loads of times, unplugged. Unplugged will do like miracles if we do it right. But it will be totally different. We can do the same songs in unplugged version, and it will be totally different concert. So that.
But there's that level of you need to step up.
You need to step up. You need to put time into it, and and practice for just that. Practice for just unplugged.
Well, in fairness, I think we shot ourselves in the foot good few times by not performing up to the standard we wanted to perform. I mean, word of mouth is a powerful thing. Mm-hmm. If you perform 2 times very good, the third times they're going to ask, there's these guys, they're killing it, you have to come and see it.
It's also a dangerous thing if you make if you made bad mistakes somewhere,
Yeah.
I think Fevers, for example, maybe you can have this off record if you don't need it. Fevers was like almost like the best gig we ever had in terms of how many people came.
Yeah.
In terms of financial,
yeah. But then again, it was too messy in so many ways. It was musicianship-wise. I think I personally made loads of mistakes that I couldn't believe when I was listening. Is that me singing? It's kind of. But monitoring was bad. Lots of things were kind of not going in our favor that night. And we had extra guitarists, which is kind of.
But to be real about it. We did make enough money overall compared to the effort that we put in. Like, I know bands, they practice once a week, 52 weeks a year, and maybe they make double as us, if even. So we don't really put that much effort. Like, I mean, the only thing that we have 50 songs or 60 songs will tell you how much effort was put over the last 7 years. If you put 20 songs each year, you'd have 140. It's only 20 songs, which is. Which is. So we didn't put.
We definitely do probably have even 150 song in our kind of list, but because members were changing in the band, and you just can't keep going, because obviously if there was 5 of us from beginning till now. We'll probably have 150 songs now that we are ready to play anytime. But because members are changing, you have to adapt to the new member.
It goes back also to kind of this XU community is kind of unstable community. I have a friend who has a futsal team. He's got 30 guys, only 5. He needs only 5 players. He's got 30 people on the panel. He can barely make 5 to play with 2 subs. Like, even can you come and play? Just we need another sub. Because somebody's working night shift, somebody changed jobs, somebody moved to Germany, which is the ideal for everybody. And I don't know, somebody's got small kids, somebody's completely, I'm finished with that country once I came to Ireland. I forgot, like,
some people
we all know people like that. We all know people like that. So it's unstable, even band member-wise, I mentioned earlier on, like, somebody's working shifts on Saturday or Sunday and you can't play that day, or you can't... They can't commit, and because it's not professional band, you can't ask them or expect them to give up anything like that. So So it's part time.
So going back to the kind of the question of self-managing, you think that at the time, like right now, that is kind of the best.
I think it worked very well. But if you have a good presence on social media, it works to some extent, But if that starts lacking a little bit, I think we started to see a little bit of fall last few gigs. So it helps to have someone professional to do our managements and bookings and whatever.
So you think that would be kind of more ideal, or?
Well, that would be great if we could afford it.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
So there is a.
Yeah, you know, that would be great if we
catch
could
or
afford it.
cost.
I would like someone to take care of bookings, so everything, you know, like I don't mind
We
doing
just
it.
play, yeah.
Yeah,
So
just play.
Speaking of bookings, you know, you two have organized gigs before, so and there is proactive approach in almost all instances or some instances. Jasmin mentioned recently you went to
Went
to
to
Waterford,
Waterford to actually inspect
which is one
if
of
we
the
can
towns
find
in Ireland or cities.
our cities. Yeah.
You wanted to see, inspect the market.
Yes,
and see if
inspect
there's,
the market. Yeah, we went there and we met few our friends. Well, kind of people that we know.
So there is a community.
There is a community there, and overall, it helped me to realize that we wanted to play Cork, and then Waterford is kind of midway to Cork, and there's a couple of towns around Wexford, Kilkenny. You know, Limerick is not far, so I kind of thought geographically location is good because all these commuter towns people will come. But then when I went to Waterford, I realized by talking to these people that nothing is much happening there anyways. You know, they're not kind of maybe the community that lives there, they're not into that type of going out and stuff. They may be family people.
It's
and
not that they want something.
yeah, it's just
But it's not there. It's just that there may be a little bit.
there could be a family
almost.
people that they
don't
don't want to go to the anything, you know, like that. You know,
So
they
those are the insights. How did you get those insights?
well,
You just-
from by talking to
Word
these
of mouth.
people, you know, that we met. You know, there was 3 guys that we met that day.
Right.
So after all of that, we went to Kilkenny to another friend, and I realized that probably Kilkenny is the best location to do the gig, even for Waterford and Wexford and Dublin even, you know, like Kilkenny is not bad location maybe to give it a go, but until we try we don't know, so it's hard
Trial
to
and
say.
error, yeah.
Trial and error, it's almost like we almost have to try to see.
You were also in contact with venue the event organizers in some venues in Waterford. Is that right?
Yeah, we went to 4 or 5 different venues,
Right.
and we found a couple of beautiful venues, you know, and but
In terms of reaction of them, like how did they take that? I
No,
mentioned
they-
previously, oh, it's exotic, or they look at it from specifically. They don't care if you're from Antarctica, as long as you're gonna get the money in.
I think that's it, you know, as long as they get
So
money,
can you
they'll be
just
happy. Yeah, but
elaborate on that.
yeah, well, basically, there's this place. I can't remember what's the name. R something. There's a venue with that they have two venues on 2 different levels, and they have a nice stage, beautiful looking venue. Only the manager wasn't there at the time. Booking manager wasn't there at the time to talk to him about it, you know. So I left some contacts, but they never called back. So I didn't speak to them yet, but because we kind of changed the opinion in the meantime, I didn't bother even to come back to them, you know, because I kind of
You changed opinion.
I changed opinion, but I was talking to Siniša as well, and it's not really. It's. I see all these as a possibilities, but you just have to try and see what happens. There's no easy way to find out.
So whether it's something is viable, again, going to the main theme here,
You're
not 100%, sure whether.
Not 100% sure, especially after the last 2 gigs. I don't know.
It's a risk you have to take.
Yeah, it's a risk you have to take. Yeah.
So
not sure what to tell about that.
Well, any activity carries a risk, so
yeah.
you were in contact with some of the places as well. You know, there was Galway, Gilly, Galway, but most recently we had that failed gig, which was supposed in Cork, which is supposed to be the first gig that we didn't organize ourselves, which is
Yes.
Yes.
and it fell through because of the, you know,
Organizer pulled
organizer
out.
pulled out
Yeah.
because he didn't think it was viable.
It wasn't
enough. But
viable
then
for
again,
him.
he charged a lot as well, so that which may have brought.
Yeah, he. Go ahead.
I think in the past we had made few mistakes. That kind of affected our a little bit motivation, but I think we lost a lot on promotion. I think there was a guy, the Balkan party in Pravda, or what's it called, Grand Social, when we were offered basically to play there. He started off very successful. I think 300 or 400 people, younger people, etc. And we were offered to play there on one floor or something like that. But I think we asked, price-wise we couldn't work it out. It didn't work for them. We set the price too high, and I think personally, I thought at the time it was worth even doing it for free. Okay, we'll just come and play. But you get exposure to 400 people who, of whom half never had been to XU band. So even if 50 said, "Oh, I like this band," I might ask them for the wedding. I might ask them for the
But
the
if you
party.
get 1-2 people from there for a future.
You know, you get yourself exposed to the community that frequently goes out. The guys, I think half of the people that come to
It will be networking kind of thing.
networking, you get yourself out there. Even if they like your Facebook page, their friends will see it, and you're out there. When you next time you advertise your gig, more people see it, and the more people see it, the higher chances more people are going to turn up. And I think we failed that one, kind of. And I think the band at that stage was very good. Actually, we had a good range of songs at that. I think that's the highest point in terms of songs we could play at that time. We are now down again to 45, 50 kind of that we can play at any time. We used to, I think we had even 65 or 70 back then.
Yeah, I think.
Readily.
That was maybe.
That was an error, but that was interband. We had with the ex-guitar player, like we couldn't agree on certain things, and that's now the past.
Another thing is we had continuity for 5 years.
Yes.
And then we didn't have anything for 2 years, and now we have to build that continuity back. There's new people. There is some people left. You know, they're not here anymore. Like there was a crowd of people. 10 people were coming from, these Hungarian people, like Karoli and his friends. Most of them went back home. But they were regulars. Every gig they were there.
But that gig that you specifically asked for Cork, that was, I suppose, that was a bit of a blip on our side that we maybe, if we say had a booking manager, professional booking manager, such a manager would probably say, okay, you can book this band, but you leave €200 deposit with me.
Yeah.
So if they pull out we don't mind. You pull out, you cancel, but at least we got cancellation fee, 40 quid each or whatever. But at the same time, how much would you have to pay a year? A booking manager or somebody to look after a band, they'll probably say, give me $2,000 for a year.
Yeah.
And are we ready? Do we generate enough gigs in a year to pay that cost?
Yeah.
As a result,
Even what I thought was important, even having somebody in the cloakroom, like people leave in jackets, etc. It just shows professionalism on that side, not rather than dump your jacket wherever. Do you know, like kind of way? I know it's a small thing, but usually when you come to any event, you have somebody that you can throw €1 or €2, or we could simply say like, well, you're looking after the clothes and jackets. Keep money to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep your €50 or 50 cents or whatever, and we strike a deal. I'm sure there will be somebody who could take that job.
Yeah.
And we don't have any risk.
But I want to ask specifically, like in terms of getting in touch with, like as a consequence of the cancellation of the event, you just said, I'm gonna get in touch with the venue directly.
Yes.
And I did. Tell us more about that specifically. You know.
I spoke.
What their reaction were.
I sent an email to, I think, I'm not sure of the names, Spile Fanak, something like that.
Yeah.
The Pope.
Spilpin.
Something like it. It's in Irish
hard,
anyway.
hard to
Yeah.
pronounce. Yeah.
So I sent an email saying we had been in touch with you 3 or 4 years ago. We went to play, but we couldn't realize it back then. We now we have our own PA system, etc. So the guy actually got back to me, and he was very willing to take us in. It was just that the dates that he didn't have any available dates that suited us for weekends during April and May, and that's the only obstacle. I thought he was very fair on the phone, and the price was quite acceptable. I think it was €100. Last time we had to deal with the same guy, but we couldn't source the PA system. It was impossible to do it in Cork. Remember, we were contacting people, and we will turn up, we won't turn up. I can leave this here, and it's impossible when you're not there.
But now this communication is established. That technically, we can go there in the future.
We can ring.
What was the reaction when you explained who you were and what the market is?
No, the reaction was quite positive, and I think due to the fact that he already was dealing with guys locally of the same community.
Okay.
So I think that he had this knowledge.
Level of rapport.
But in
built.
general, it is difficult, because it's always difficult when you start negotiating with somebody and they don't know who you are, and then you have to talk about yourself. And you have to show and prove your credibility, which is an awful thing to do.
Yeah.
To
Did
go
they
anywhere
show
and
interest?
Sorry?
Did he show interest, like in what we do, considering the type of music and the type of kind of event that we normally do? Like, was he like intrigued, interested?
I think personally,
or how much people can?
I think
you bring
personally, my impression was that he was more interested in collecting his €100 and having his slots filled in.
Yeah.
He's only looking after slots, and all he cares is that he fills all the slots.
Yeah.
But
And in general, that's the
that's my next
But in
question.
general,
Is
very
this
few-
the case, you know?
This is
may
case
not
in
be
general.
the same in the UK, for example, but you know.
in general, I sent personally to Jasko as well emails, but some places responded, sorry, not available, no further comment than that, and some people, some venues didn't even respond.
So very briefly, previously, you know, the Cellar Bar and say the Loft in Galway, how did that all take place?
I think Evelina ran Cellar
Evelina,
Bar.
actually, yeah, she
got through to the
She
manager.
was in touch to the managers then at the time, but this time I got in touch with Gilly
for the most recent.
For
Yes,
the most recent
for the most
one,
recent,
yeah.
and now we have a booking. I
And now-
booked it there on the spot for
and we have
October.
booking for October.
Yeah. I think this communication channel is very important.
Yeah.
It's
Even for
always-
advertising, or it's just communication.
It's always communication,
It's
yeah, but in
communication.
person is always better
It's always,
because that is the problem. We can't play in Kerry, we can't play in here because we have no one to kind of advocate for us there. You have to go in person and look for place, or
And it's very
on
expensive.
emails rarely there's no answer, or maybe you might be lucky to get an answer saying no, we're not interested. You know, so emails are not great. Phone, maybe if you get someone on online, but
Well, just as a suggestion now, when we're talking about this, would it be an option to say to hire a booking manager on some sort of part-time basis or contract or just a deal?
to get us few gigs.
You get us few gigs and you have percentage.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody local or
That-
somebody who's in that business who knows all the. It's not really about the music. It's about a person who has ongoing communication with bar owners, managers, who's in that trade of business, and I'm sure they can get us gigs because you're walking. What we're doing, we're knocking on the door looking for a job,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So you think that perhaps having an option of booking agent, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word, would actually help with this idea of the band expanding, you know, and therefore maybe consequently, you know, the whole thing being viable.
It probably would, you know, because that's
Yeah,
what
I mean, we're
that's
guessing,
what they
but-
do. That's what they do, and that's not what we do in general, you
Yes.
know. So it's their job to get jobs to people. So
Yeah.
I think it will definitely help.
Yeah.
Only thing is, we have a kind of like a niche, you know, what we do. It's
Market,
kind
Yeah,
of
there
like
is a niche market.
yeah,
but
niche.
there is a market.
yeah, there is a market. Yeah, so
Yes.
so basically,
your
will
opinion,
that
yes.
person have to be from our country or not? That's another question. Or does he have to be local here?
Well, you first define the goals.
Yeah.
If you're getting it to not to, if you're trying to get into pubs, I think then you're looking for a local person who has ongoing communication with who knows the owners. Like, for example, if you are having a party tomorrow, and it happens like you need somebody to Jasko's like doing the video, the cameras thing, and you need to have it recorded. If somebody knocked on your door and say, I hear you have a party tomorrow, can I record? Or if I said to you, listen, I know the guy who's very good at recording, of course you're going to take him.
Yeah,
And what we are doing, we're actually knocking on the door saying, can we play in your
Word
place?
of mouth is the best in
Yeah.
general. I know that from my business. Like when I was advertising everywhere, I was getting some business, blah blah blah. But when things started going word of mouth, when people start
Yeah.
recommending you,
That's,
I don't have any advertisement now. I mean, but
but that happens in all walks of life. You know, auto car mechanic.
people get to know you through other people, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's the best
So
type
you
of.
consider that would be beneficial to,
I think-
useful for the the viability again.
I think
Yeah.
I think it
of
would
expanding the brand.
definitely.
Can I just? I'll ask this very briefly because this question is meant for the third person who I'm in touch with at the moment, but he couldn't come in today. But like because Siniša mentioned about the PA, and obviously he'll Dennis will answer from a business perspective
Yes,
because
yeah.
he decided to buy the
Yes.
The
whole
PA
line.
equipment, yeah.
But just from a PA perspective, do you think that's something that will definitely assist us in potentially expanding?
It's liberating in a way that we are not strictly tied to play in the places where there's no PA system. Now there's more options now. We can organize. We can still keep organizing the gigs ourselves, but the sound is there. We have it either they have the venue has a PA
Locally
system
set
or
up,
not. We can play there. So it's a benefit definitely, and what else is beneficial there? We can aim to have our sound eventually, and be always kind of wherever we play, like what we did in Galway and Teachers. It was pretty much similar in a way because the setup was there, different venue, and I think definitely beneficial, to have a PA
Oh yes, it enables you to go
and a
different.
sound guy.
Yeah. It enables you to go different places without having to worry. Are you going to? Is the other party who are you?
From that business perspective,
Yeah.
Yes.
definitely, it's helpful, and
Mhm.
obviously individually,
it's
you
helpful.
feel more confident. I think.
Yeah, and cuts the
Yeah.
time setting up
Mhm.
and then we do everything in house.
Yeah.
Um,
In a nutshell, we can actually get more gigs now because we have PA.
Yes.
Because there's more venues now that we can ask for. You can look at it that way.
I think from business perspective, I
Yeah.
think the earlier question, one of the questions came up earlier on. Should we be looking like? Obviously, there's huge XU community here. Like you're talking probably tens of thousands of people. We are kind of missing out birthday parties, weddings, various all these events, and I think we should expand our repertoire base to cater for this because like my brother was getting married here a few years ago and we played at that wedding, but surely there must be people who are also getting married here. They would like a bit of music and for bit of music from the region.
Well, actually, I have to mention, Sinisha's brother met his future wife on our gig.
Yeah, second or third gig. Yeah,
You know,
he met
and then
her.
we played on his
His wedding, yeah.
wedding, which is nice.
And then he sang a song at his wedding. nije život jedna žena, or
Life
is not about
only
one woman.
one
So
woman.
that didn't go well.
So, very briefly,
Yeah.
how do you think we can tap into that market? Like, is it the case that? So it's not the case that it's not viable. Maybe, or is it the case that we need a manager, or word of mouth,
Yeah,
First, we
something else?
first we need to have a product quality.
Yeah.
You need to have certain songs, because the last thing you want is to go to somebody's wedding and ruin it, or that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to do.
No,
So there is that theme
the-
of stepping
well,
up.
the
Yeah,
wedding.
definitely.
I work on weddings from other perspective. I work on video sometimes and photography, and you can definitely ruin the wedding for someone
Yes.
if you do a bad job on anything you
Yeah.
do for them. Music, video, photography,
Yes, cake, whatever.
cake, wherever.
Setup, yeah.
Everything has to be top. So from that point of view, maybe weddings we can aim to do, but I don't think we are ready yet for them. But we can obviously expand the songs and repertoire and stuff like that. But private party we can definitely do.
Private parties, yeah.
Private parties we can definitely
At the end
do.
of
We
the
are
day-
doing one this Saturday, and we're gonna see what happens.
At the end of the day, when we are practicing, we could always, we have a list of songs on YouTube, we basically replicate them as much as we can. But there's nothing to stop us to do medleys, to
Yeah.
put different songs, to skip some parts, to make it interesting and not boring, not be repeating so many times,
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
we don't do
I mean,
medleys. To be honest, medleys very rarely, never.
So
yeah,
Yeah.
we could expand that. I suppose the main thing is to keep the tension up.
Mm.
If the tension goes down, then you'll see the drop in the
Yeah.
audience next
I
time.
think we got that from the last gig. Slight shifts,
Mhm.
so we weren't that ready.
Yeah, last gig was
with
especially,
the
yeah.
set list.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a more proactive approach, responding to whatever was happening on the field. Now, I know, like, the next question. I mean, I don't have that many questions left, so again,
Are we doing a good job?
yes.
Speechless.
We have been talking about this already. Speechless.
Okay, could this?
We touched on this. There's quite a few touch points throughout this conversation, but what are the potential difficulties with the viability of this expansion? And I know you guys mentioned, it's kind of it goes throughout. You mentioned, like, a lot of these things throughout this conversation already. I mean, is there anything specific that you can actually think of right now? I mean,
Time.
You don't have to.
Time is the biggest difficulty. Finding time, because if we were to meet 3 times a week for the next 4 weeks and then play sometimes in June or July, you'd probably see a big difference.
But technically, we can't even at the moment because of the
Yeah.
issues with the
But one
personnel.
Yeah, one thing is also we never actually maybe mentioned it much today, but we did touch that before. Playing outside of Ireland as well.
That's kind
That's
of the
not
next
the question,
yes.
yeah.
That is the next question.
Okay.
What are your? I suppose we can put this question aside because we kind of mentioned quite a lot of
Well,
the
the
difficulties.
difficulties
into the viability.
are either
So
lacking.
You stated.
Yeah,
You
lacking
stated that.
social media presence, marketing, finding venues to play.
That's actually the biggest difficulty, finding venues.
And finding the weekends, Saturdays, finding
Yeah.
the Saturdays basically is the.
Actually, finding the venues, you
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
because if you have the venue, you'll kind of find time to rehearse. for
You'll
that.
find
It's
time to
difficult.
rehearse and everything else, but venue is very hard to find on the Saturday. So that's the biggest issue I
Yeah.
think we have.
Yeah.
And then also we have to work on the songs.
Of course, I mean,
kind
okay,
of.
viability by
Yeah.
definition is whether you can sustain something for a longer period of time in terms of, say, financially viable. So, like, obviously there's been ups and downs. So,
Yes, yes.
So there are difficulties basically.
Well, as Siniša mentioned before, I think what we did in the past so far to this point, we did good job.
Yeah.
You know, we're not financially down or something.
No,
you
we're
know,
not
because,
financially down.
You
like-
know, but there were gigs obviously that they were not as good as some other gigs, and you
Yeah,
know, so
But
that,
this idea of expanding our operations to the rest of Ireland, which has occurred already to a certain
to a
extent,
certain extent, yeah.
in terms of say viability, as in is it financially whether we can sustain a certain trip here and there, have enough people. Have enough
Yeah, Ireland is fine. I think Ireland is fine.
But what I thought actually recently, when I was after the trip to Waterford, actually, and I was kind of looking geographically where we are and stuff like that. I think it's not bad idea to stay in Dublin as much as possible, and then play maybe in not so far cities from Dublin, maybe Drogheda, Galway, not Galway, Athlone is not far. Kilkenny is not too
We
far.
should try Athlone,
which is
definitely.
one hour drive, maybe roughly from Dublin. Maybe we should try these towns before we go to big towns like Galway, Cork, Kerry, you know,
Yeah.
because they're kind of closer to Dublin and midway to wherever you go, you know. So it's kind of maybe that
would be more viable again, I suppose, from financial perspective.
could be.
You know,
It should be.
The
all
only-
we need to do is find out whether
the only
there's
thing-
enough market, as in enough people there.
Yeah, that could be the issue.
Yeah,
Like in Athlone,
yeah.
you may have 500 people living there. In Dublin, you probably have 5,000.
Yeah.
Nobody.
So you're targeting.
not all like live gigs. That's
Exactly.
something that I mentioned
Yeah.
before. That
Yeah.
some people just prefer DJ because it's not that noisy, or the people just don't like live.
It will, I
performances.
suppose it will become financially viable when we start getting calls from people, come and play here.
Which was the case before the pandemic, actually.
Yes.
We were supposed to play
Because
also a
it's
couple
still
of
us.
private gigs.
It's still us looking to play rather than somebody looking for you to play, which is completely different.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose
Because
this
when
early,
somebody
well,
asks you to play, this is where you can demand money. This is where you, okay, you want me and I come at a price. But when you go begging somebody, not begging, but asking somebody to play,
Yeah.
you have to lower your price. You have to, like, that's just the reality of
Well, we're
life.
kind of acting as organizers as
Yes.
well as performers, you know. So basically,
well, that's a fact.
that's a fact, you know. So there's two things that we do different to maybe majority of the bands they're doing in Ireland, in Bosnia, Croatia,
Yeah.
Serbia, doesn't matter.
Because we are in specific situation.
Usually a bar pays the band, you know, for the
Yeah.
night, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
Where this way we probably have
In
more
Ireland,
more
it's very
viability.
specific. That's,
Yes,
you
the
know,
bar
you
has-
pay.
Yeah.
The bar can't advertise to the local. To
No, they can't
people from Croatia,
advertise.
say,
So we,
Serbia.
you're not sure we have to be organizers for our
We
parties,
have to be, yeah.
and that can be even more viable if we do a good job, and
Yeah.
which we did so far. Okay, you know, but I think we can expand on marketing, social media presence,
Definitely,
and
yeah.
maybe even when we do social media, maybe occasionally do a couple of, you know, just a couple of songs,
Unplugged or
like we did
whatever.
with
Yeah,
Toma
yeah.
a couple of times, you know,
Yeah, just
just kind of, you
So
know,
people
relaxing
will call,
atmosphere.
but I suppose we.
you need to be interaction all the time.
I mean, the lockdown has ended relatively recently, so things are not still up to speed.
No.
You know, so I suppose in terms of the research, I would have to take that into account as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the same. Things are just going back into normal. I mean, we did have a good few gigs even after the lockdown ended, but nevertheless, things are just not the same at the moment. Whether they'll go back to the previous
Yeah.
thing, I'm sure they will. I suppose, just a matter of time before we start getting calls as opposed to starting to actively
I
continue actively.
I
searching.
think we started kind of we wanted to go back to full speed after the lockdown, but I think it just can't happen like that, you know.
Still at the moment, it's
Yeah,
just the
because
way it
it
is.
needs some time to build up the momentum again, because we had momentum and it's gone.
yeah,
We have to build it up again, and that's reality.
yeah.
you know. So basically what we have to do, it's good that we have a break now. Basically we have to obviously find another member in the meantime, but it's good to have a break to actually consolidate the strengths, the team again, you know. I think it's good because we kind of had 3-4 gigs in 3 months time, and it was horuk, kind of. How do you say horuk in English? You know?
At a push.
You know, so I think.
Go on.
Yeah. So that's what we need to build back again. You know, build back better.
I have 2 more questions, so I'll try to. I don't know whether the camera is still.
It should
but
be.
I'll try to be
Still.
as brief as possible. The next one
This
is
one works. Yeah.
thoughts on potentially expanding outside Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It can be as brief or as long as you want to.
Well,
It's really up to you.
for that, I think we need that momentum that we had before. We can't do it right now. Pre-pandemic, yeah. Because continuity, yeah, because we had like ideas to go. We had calls to come to Netherlands to like pay in Rotterdam, then in Glasgow, then
Belfast.
there's Belfast, maybe possibility in London, maybe, I don't know, but we, you know, it's not impossible to organize, but you need to kind of build that kind of continuity that we used to have, you know, kind of not too often, but regular.
Yeah.
You know, maybe every month and a half, 2 months, but regularly, you know, all the time.
It would be good for a band and for promotion, but to do that, you need to have somebody on the ground. So whoever is in Glasgow or Rotterdam, they would have to obviously organize. We just can't play because we would have logistical issue as well. You have to obviously fly there, bring your equipment.
It's more expensive.
It's more expensive. You have to stay somewhere. So the last thing, like you want to be organizing it there. So logistics, but then I think you would need to have really strong set of songs and really strong performance for people to come and pay.
Musicianship level.
You're probably looking 20-30 euros a ticket there at least, and those countries are usually not even as high standard as wages are not as high as in Ireland. So potentially yes.
Potentially, yeah, there's possibility.
I mean, as you mentioned, there's practical calls and everything. I don't know whether we can actively create, like literally push for researching the communities. Initially, I started from that perspective, but I narrowed it down to Ireland only. But I suppose, you know, from a kind of pushing perspective, we would have to, I suppose, research market and call and all that stuff. So do you think that then ultimately you know, maybe the self-managing approach may give way to a management approach, as in third party?
Yeah, it's probably, I'm not sure how to answer that question, but
rhetorical question.
Definitely to be more active in many ways, in marketing, in social media, and in even playing. It doesn't have to be related to the gigs and stuff. We can meet sometimes, occasionally play something, post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, you know, just to have some continuity. Presence, you know, because otherwise people forget about you. You know there's some XU band there, but if you're not in their eyes all the time, in front of, you know, they kind of...
I mean, we don't necessarily have like direct competition, so there's
no competition.
There's
potential.
So,
maybe we can work on the image a little bit, maybe get the t-shirts again. No, really, I think...
Get a guitar player.
Get the guitar player first, but then get t-shirts, get t-shirts to sell to people. We never did that, and I think and there's loads of... We used to have loads of...
There are different marketing techniques, but because we are not actively involved in those, like technically, like what the other teams are doing, sometimes you can bring your own audience.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm bringing 40 people who are gonna scream in front of us just for the video. get in free, or we'll pay you $10 each, or whatever. Like, you know, that kind of way. Like, the various techniques are being done by various things just to get demand up. Once you get demand up, you tell them thank you very much. You've been
Yes.
like you can do that. Like I know
Marketing tricks.
I work with the company. I know it's off the topic, but when they were creating wheelchair workshop, they need somebody who will promote the thing, because you can't go downstairs and we're repairing a wheelchair. Nobody will come. And actually, there is a talent. There's a website actually with the Irish famous actors, famous people. They paid person 800 quid. I'm not name the person, but you all know what the person who they are. They came out, gave a lovely speech. That was for the TV, and all of a sudden the press and clicks and everything goes up only because of that. So maybe even get a celebrity and next to a band with a celebrity. It's
another.
I think when you think Alan Islamovic was here, we kind of missed the opportunity to take few pictures and tag Alan Islamovic on Instagram or Facebook, and he will get you the audience, not us. I won't get anybody. He won't get anybody. Friend. Or that time even I think we failed. To be honest, we didn't even think Davo Rebner from Regina when he was there.
Yeah.
We could have kind of Davo Rebner will text you a band like and just like picture and two like.
Was that when I played or?
No. He came to visit me. He was my friend, and we went for drink in Brussels there.
Brussels,
and that was kind of something.
Things like that, I suppose.
Use every opportunity.
Use every opportunity
for exposure.
Obviously with permission.
With permission, obviously, yeah.
Taking into
lately, it's very easy to kind of to get into the areas where you can't. People don't want to be pictured or don't want to be videoed.
It is having a celebrity. Somebody look like, for example, few famous songs where there's singers like I don't even know their names, Daniela and few singers. They took Tifa just to play kind of a song and push them up. His he only took part in the song. But it's that lift that you need. Once you go up above certain level, people come to you.
What we can try to do, and I was kind of thinking of doing it myself a long time ago, to bring someone to play here, someone famous, and then we go as organizers and as a supporting band. Also, maybe something that we can try. Also, we never tried bingo on the night, because we have bingo tickets. We don't use them for real purpose. We can have a little bit of entertainment.
Ideas,
these ideas that, for example, someone will win something at the end of the night. We buy toaster or something, and it doesn't have to be anything special, kind of.
Like you're not specialists in that. I'm sure there are people out there who can tell you 20 different things that you can do that we are not even aware of. I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
But
I was suggesting bingo long time ago, but I think one of the guys wasn't for Ranko especially.
Yeah.
He was no, we just play. We don't do bingo. Yeah. But I think but we are not a rock band who plays just their own rock songs and that's it. We are band who entertains community, and we can use that to entertain them in many different ways, not only singing and
because I think we're in such a unique position that
there's no direct competition.
So to wrap things up,
right?
The last question is, like, obviously we discussed all this. So how does all this fit with the band's future, if there is any? Now I put notes like staying part-time, going professional. What are your thoughts on this as kind of to conclude all this discussion? What we said throughout the last an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Watch.
It can be as brief or as long as you want, but this is the last question. So wrapping things up, what do you think the future is, and is there viability in going professional?
I think there is a great future. We just have to work harder in every possible sense, from practicing, doing the groundwork, practicing songs, etc., to pay more attention to markets, to how to advertise it, maybe getting the booking manager, exploring these issues that with the goal kind of or get as many people in.
Some kind of strategy.
I think we
Perhaps.
need to build strategy. Yeah, we kind of
is required.
Well, first we need to then set what the goal is.
Aims, objectives,
So
goals.
you get
Exactly what I'm doing.
and
yeah.
they are framework smart goals. You probably heard about them. That the goals have to be specific, measurable, attainable, whatever, real. So we
Real.
can't expect
Real.
like 1,000
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
They have to
Yeah.
be real.
So that
And
kind
have
of
to be-
sounds like a professional approach to me.
It is professional approach. Well, that's my kind of trade for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
set smart objectives, and you give it a time frame. So you give it we give it like a year, or you give it 2 years to get not to 200 people once off, but to a series of gigs with 200 people. I'm not saying it has to be 200. It could be 100. That's why I'm saying it has to be real. So it's finding that number which is kind of approximate number of people that would come, after which even if you improve quality for 1,000%, you wouldn't get any more.
Yeah.
So kind of to reach that maximum, and I think the maximum should be around 200 people, because we had 235, we had many times 170, 180, so it is around more so between 150 to 200 than between 50 and 100.
Yeah.
You are looking 150 to 200, and I think if we had 150 to 200 once a month in Dublin and once outside, say twice a month, once in Dublin and once say Galway and then Cork and then
no.
Drogheda,
You
and then
think that would be a viable
that would be a viable, not for the living, obviously, that's still
option? No, viable option for
for existence of the
basically
band.
to answer this question.
Yes.
Whether there is a
Yes,
availability.
yes, it would
This
be
many
viable.
people with this kind of frequency. And are we talking about because I'll probably not probably but definitely will have to come up with some kind of time frame or whether that's viable or not. But for us to actually do all that what you just mentioned, there has to be certain time frame.
So if you were to set this now, you can set it, say today is 7th of May.
2 years,
Se-
never.
Yeah, 7th of May. So you say you set your frame. Okay, the next season starts in September. So you have September, October, November, December, and then you have probably February, March, and April. You set it till next April and
May.
see. You have 6 or
Yeah.
7 gigs, and then you see is the average 30 person people per gig. Is it worth? Do you still want to do it based purely on enthusiasm and just to have a bit of fun,
Yeah.
or do you want the target is €1,000 every time for the
Yeah.
band, and you set those goals. But before you set those goals, you have to do the groundwork. You can't go in with 7 gigs with the same songs because
No.
you will not get your results. That means your goals are not real.
Yeah.
You have to have realistic goals.
Do you wish to add to anything?
Well, I kind of
Wise words.
agree in a nutshell with everything Siniša said. Yeah, I think it is viable, but as I said, we have to build back that momentum that we used to have, and now especially because we need to look for a new member as well.
That's an opportunity as well.
That's an opportunity
Excellent.
to start fresh.
That perspective as
Yeah,
being,
you know,
as being an
yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
rather than
Yeah, and maybe a couple of back vocals. I don't mind really. It'll be
Well, I think that will
it'll be
improve quality.
beneficial to the overall
Well, back
sound
vocals,
of the
they
band.
do a miracle.
Because even though Siniša and Denis are back vocals while they're playing, not every song is actually
No, like his voice by pitch is higher than mine, and I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
follow
yeah,
certain
yeah.
things.
So we need
And-
some backup. Yeah, definitely.
Some vocals, yeah.
And also maybe as I said, a bit of additional entertainment along with the gigs. Kind of
I think what we are also
Yeah.
missing is,
content maybe.
content. Yeah, yeah,
but we are missing.
yeah.
I think I mentioned to Jasko maybe when we spoke on the phone a few weeks ago that we are missing this that all live bands have, kind of grand opening or something that's related to
Yeah.
any songs.
Mm.
Could be Iowa Tiger, could be anything,
Yeah,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
some folk, biggest folk melody turned into something just
Yeah,
mad.
Yeah.
Because people when they come out, they want to see
Bit
this
of our own touch in a way,
Yeah.
for maybe
like grand opening with the riff of the guitars and the cymbals or whatever and the drums and
Or drums,
some
or
openings
could
so people can see, wow, this is a live
Yeah.
band, and lights you know, like, and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything. Doesn't
Extravaganza. We don't have.
yeah,
We want the drum solo at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
something like that.
I know. I mean, doesn't have to be drum solo. Could be drum solo. Could be guitar solo. Could be a jam of.
Could be
you know,
jam. Could
you
be
know,
So overall,
something like for Zaesmo starts that kind of thing. When you have a drum,
Oh, for
then you
example,
have a bit of everything.
the
else.
last song we played, Danas I'm Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that song has a, you know, kind of
Yes,
good
something-
opening.
And we could not every song, but every 3 or 4 songs we could have something like that, just to show it to people. Well, these are real people playing up
we
there.
actually do have elements of that. It just maybe we have to bring a little bit, kind of to maybe a
I
bit.
mean, this is nuance, I suppose. You know, details. So yeah, it's
Details,
you know,
yeah.
It's all.
You
It's
devil's
all
in the
great.
details.
Yeah.
you know what
So-
I say.
You know, final word now. I suppose it could be just yes or no. The final conclusion is: so is there a viability in the band expanding its activities
Yes,
outside?
Yeah, I'm
Dublin?
positive. I'm
Yes.
Or
positive.
even Ireland,
yes, I think so.
Europe.
Mm.
I'm positive about Ireland. Definitely, the Europe. It's
To some
it's
extent,
logistics.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
logistics, and it is going kind of a bit more
But
professional.
overall, when you look at it, taking everything into consideration, you know, there is a certain level of viability, realistic.
If we add a bit more personality into what we're doing, then I think expansion is more viable. If you know what I mean. Personality in a way that maybe we add a bit of personal touch into either song that's existing, or we do original song, or we do a cover song our way, or something. But we give some flavor to it, if you know what I mean. And with the time, that will become something that people will probably like. You know.
So you think?
I think
yes,
yeah. I think yes.
What
And-
about you,
and-
Sanchez?
Yes, definitely. There is potential in Ireland going abroad as well. If there are calls for that,
Yeah.
you should be open to that at least. And if it fails, it fails. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
gonna break the
Yeah.
bank. But also, we never mentioned there are so many intercultural events in Ireland that could bring opportunity to. I know you probably end up playing 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah, yeah. Like we did in Drogheda once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just show your face out there and just pick
Yeah.
a song or 2. Whatever. I know
we can
it's
definitely go
it's
to
not
some
from-
festivals if they are
it is
available. Summer is
promotion.
coming, so
like in marketing, reputation is everything, and you need to get yourself. So many people are selling kind of
and
crap
also
products, but they have a good ad.
and also because we do have certain amount of people from Ireland that coming to our gigs, we should maybe have a couple of songs in English or some other language, you know, kind of. But yeah.
And that's the last thing that I have to say.
Turn
So-
off.
Thank you for your
Let's
time.
recover from this.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, prvo zvuči.